Welcome to this week's edition of Wednesday Web Chat. This is Carl Lewis, your host. This week, our topic is going to be taking a look at SAP Lumira, creating dashboards for SAP Business One. Let's talk about SAP Lumira today. So SAP Lumira is a separate application from SAP Business One, and we'll start it up here in a moment and show you a few things about it today. And you'll notice that there's something else that next week I hope to take a look at with you regarding Lumira, and that is the SAP Lumira Team Server. Now, the purpose of the Team Server is so that all of the dashboards that you create with SAP Lumira can be published and made available with security on them through an internet browser to anyone that you like, and it would not require a Business One license. So this has always been a request, and there are many ways to achieve this, to distribute information and reports to users who don't use the system itself. And we expose all of them to you that we possibly can, like Crystal Reports. We've taken a look at other reporting tools this year, like BizNet and BI360, and even Crystal Dashboard Design and things like that. This one happens to be one of my favorites because it's the easiest to deploy, and I believe it's the easiest to use for a creator of dashboards, and you'll see why. But once you install the SAP Lumira Team Server, you can actually put it like this. You'll see it here in the browser widget in SAP Business One. So it can be used as a dashboard center inside of SAP Business One. And next week, after we've done some work today, we'll come back kind of part two, and we'll actually take a look at the Team Server and what that is like for a user to use. Today we're going to start by finding some data in Business One that we want to create some sort of dashboard about because it's been a request. Now, just like any other report, any other dashboard device that I would use, no matter where it is, I have to be able to start